Welcome, students. Welcome to the Close Reading Cooperative, the podcast in literary analysis for English majors. I am Christopher Hanlon of the English Department at Eastern Illinois University.
I'm C.C. Wharram, same place.
And we are here today, students, to talk to you about love. That's right, L-O-V-E, passion.
No, we're not talking
romance.
about love. We're talking about sonnet,
right.
the sonnet form.
Yes,
and
sonnet.
that's
and Charles, this is like the first thing you learn as an English major, right? A sonnet is a beautiful 14-line poem that is about love, about passion,
the sonnet
about desire.
Can be about passion and desire and love, but it primarily does something quite different. And you know very well that it's a 14-line poem, as you correctly said, but it's a 14-line poem, and the form of it is what is significant. The content, we shall see, is not love. The content, it can be love, but it can be lots of other things. The problem with thinking that the sonnet is all about love, Chris, is that you run into all these sonnets. Like, for example, I have one like this one. It's a sonnet by William Wordsworth. Listen to this. Nuns fret not at their convent's narrow room. Let me just stop with that line.
They do not fret because they are in love.
No.
They are lovers.
There is,
and they are thinking
don't
of
even
their
go
passion.
there. That does not even make sense. This is not about. This is not a. Well, listen to the images that Wordsworth presents us with in the first few lines here. Nuns fret not at their convent's narrow room, and hermits are contented with their cells, and students with their pensive citadels. Maids at the wheel, the weaver at his loom, sit blithe and happy. Bees that soar for bloom high as the highest peak of furnace fells will murmur by the hour in foxglove bells. Tell me, are you serious?
Love, Charles, come on, man.
How is this about love?
We got birds and bees and flowers and
you have bees.
blooming stuff.
There are no birds here.
It is a landscape
bees,
for lovers.
But the point about bees is that they're, you have some bees that could fly off to the tops of mountains, but most bees are contented with their little flower foxglove bells, and they have this small room in which they occupy. Similarly, the nuns have their narrow rooms, the hermits have their small cells, the students have their pensive citadels, their tiny dorm rooms. This is not about love. This is about being happy to occupy a small space. And,
if you're going to get all close reading on me, I guess technically yes.
That is why we're here. That is why we're here. And listen to how the sonnet goes on from that point after the foxglove bells. In truth, the prison into which we doom ourselves no prison is, and hence for me in sundry moods 'twas pastime to be bound within the sonnet's scanty plot of ground. Pleased if some souls, for such their needs must be, who have felt the weight of too much liberty, should find brief solace there, as I have found. Not really about love, is it?
This is not a good sonnet. It's not about love at all.
All those examples of figures who are happy with their small space in which they operate, they become a model for Wordsworth in doing what?
Well, it sounds
TikTok.
like now. Well, it sounds like now he's saying that just as these other animals and nuns and students and other things can be satisfied dwelling in contained spaces, the poet is perfectly happy and perfectly at liberty to sort of work within a confining form like the sonnet.
That's correct. That's exactly the point. He's writing a sonnet about sonnets.
Yeah.
He's writing
That's
about. It certainly is. It's so meta. It's it is very. It's very much what he's doing exactly. And you notice that there is a point in this sonnet at which you can sense that the sonnet moves off in a different direction. He's presented us with a number of images, and then suddenly he says, dude, can you recall?
It kind of, there's a moment where he says, hence for me, right? That's sort of like he's saying, just all these other examples, it's the same way for me.
Right. Somewhere right near the middle of the poem, it goes off from being a series of images of these contented souls in their small space, and it moves off into a consideration of what the sonnet means for him. And quite frankly, the sonnet is a very limiting form. I mean, 14 lines, a very strict rhyme scheme. You can't really do much in that space. Well, Wordsworth says you can. There's a lot that goes on in this small 14-line form of literature, form of writing. So what we can talk about is how, because there are so many limitations in the sonnet, when the sonnet actually moves outside of those strict rules, you can get a lot of out of noticing what's happening.
Okay. So the takeaway here is that sonnets are not always about love, but
Certainly
they almost always contain a moment that we call the volta, a turning point,
Right.
where things get rethought, reconceived, reconsidered.
That's precisely the point, yes.
Okay. Okay.
That's good enough for this week.
Okay.
And then next week we'll find out there are other kinds of sonnets, not just the Italian sonnet that we saw this week.
Hate sonnets.
No, you love.
I'm
you
just
say- you don't have to go from love to hate. We'll find it next week. Just let's say goodbye.
See you next time on the Close Reading Cooperative.
Goodbye.